Hello friends, in this video I am going to talk about the heart valves. Heart valves. As you already know that there is a unidirectional flow of the blood in the heart. That is, the blood flows from atria into the ventricles and from ventricles into the greater vessels in the form of pulmonary trunk and main aorta. So keep watching this video up to the end so that you can get the right information so far as the heart valves are concerned. So let us get started. I have already wrote on the board some kind of an information so that the video becomes more interesting, and as well as I will use this diagram so that you can get the information very accurately. So heart valves. Heart valves are four in number, namely AV valves and SL valves. AV valves are called the atrioventricular valves, means these are the valves which guards the artery and ventricles on both sides of the heart. That means this is found on the right side of the heart as well as on the left side of the heart. Means they are found in between the junction of artery and ventricles. This is the artery, this is the right auricle, this is the left auricle, this is the right ventricle and the left ventricle. Right auricle and right ventricle is guarded by the valve that's called tricuspid valve. Here I will write tricuspid valve, and on the left side of the heart there is a valve in between the left auricle and left ventricle, that is called the bicuspid valve. That is also called the mitral valve. So here I will use this diagram. There are two atrioventricular valves. One is called the right AV valve, second is the left AV valve. This right AV valve and the left AV valve, it depends upon the where they are located, on the right side of the heart, left side of the heart respectively. Firstly, I will discuss right AV valve. That's also called the tricuspid valve, which I have mentioned earlier, having three cusps or the flaps of endocardium enforced by the collagen cords. This is the tricuspid valve here. Here also tricuspid valve. There are three cusp-like structures, and their direction is towards the ventricles respectively. On the left side of the heart, there is a bicuspid valve or the mitral valve, here having the two cusps. In tricuspid valve, there are the three cusps or the flaps of endocardium. Here in the left AV valve, there are two cusps. That's also called the mitral valve because of the resemblance of the shape with the bishop's mitre or the hat. As far as the AV valves are concerned, both the valves prevent the backflow of blood from ventricles into the respective arteria. Means there, when the ventricles gets contracted, the AV valves gets closed, so it prevents the backflow of blood from the ventricles into the respective arteria. So both are responsible to prevent the backflow of blood. That is we can say the most important point as far as the points are concerned. You must remember this: ventricles into the respective arteria. There is no backflow of the blood into the respective arteria from the ventricles. On the other hand, these flaps of the AV valve are anchored by collagen cords. They are called the chordae tendineae. You must remember, chordae tendineae, or they are also called the tendinous cords. These tendinous cords are actually the strings of the heart, or we can say the heart strings, that are in turn anchored with the a special type of the muscles of the ventricular endocardium, that is called the papillary muscles. Very important point. Here I will draw the structure. Here these are the papillary muscles. These papillary muscles are responsible to anchor the chordae tendineae on the one side, and the chordae tendineae are on the other side. They are attached with the AV valves on both sides, tricuspid valve, bicuspid valve. So there is no ballooning back of the what it called as the flaps of the AV valves into the respective atria. Here also triangular type of the muscles called these are called the papillary muscles. These are attached with the tendinous cords. Here I have mentioned chordae tendineae. They are also called the tendinous cords, also called the heart strings. They are in turn attached with the special type muscles, ventricular muscles. They are called the papillary muscles. These are the papillary muscles. These chordae tendineae are in turn attached with these muscles, like this. These are the strings. So these strings are the chordae tendineae, help us to make or remain the what it called is the position of the flaps of the AV valves in a right direction. That means their direction, they are directed towards the ventricles. So these are the strings, chordae tendineae or tendinous cords. The another point, that is both the what it called is they both means this papillary muscles as well as the chordae tendineae. Both are responsible to prevent the ballooning back of the valve flaps into the atria while ventricular contraction. Means when ventricles gets contracted, they remains in a closed condition. That means I will tell you in the mechanism of action how they work with each other, how the ventricular contraction takes place, and how there is the closing and the opening of the AV valves takes place. So another point here, that is called the SL valves. These are the AV valves. We have discussed it all already. And there are SL valves. They are called the semilunar valves. Semilunar valves, why they are called the semilunar? Because they resemble the half moon. Semi means half, and this lunar means moon, half moon like structure. They are also 3 in number, and these SL valves are different from the AV valves. So this moon, there are 3 pocket like structures having shape to that of the half moon. So this SL valve, that's called a semilunar valve, they are of 2 types on the basis of where they are present. This SL valves, they are in the form of ASLV, and they are in the form of PSLV. What is ASLV? ASLV means aortic semilunar valve, and PSLV means pulmonary semilunar valve. Both guards the bases of the 2 large, or we can say the greater vessels in the form of pulmonary trunk and this main aorta. Here I'll mention with the help of another marker. This is the semilunar valve, and named as PSLV pulmonary semilunar volume. Why pulmonary? Because it is concerned with the flow of blood towards the lungs for purification. That's called pulmonary semilunar volume. And here is aortic semilunar volume. This is called the aortic semilunar volume. So there are two semilunar volumes. One is called the ASLV, another is the PSLV. Both guard the base of aorta and pulmonary trunk respectively. This is the pulmonary trunk. Pulmonary trunk gets bifurcated into the left pulmonary artery, and here the right pulmonary artery. These what it called is the are responsible to flow the blood towards the lungs for purification, or we can say the deoxygenated blood goes towards the lungs by means of left pulmonary artery and right pulmonary artery. On the other hand, ASLV, aortic semilunar volume, through the aortic semilunar volume, when they gets opened, the blood rushes towards the main aorta, aorta. This main aorta is responsible to flow the oxygenated blood to all tissues of the body. So, each having three pocket-like structures having shape of a half moon. That's called the semilunar volume. They are of two types. One is called the aortic semilunar volume, and second is the pulmonary semilunar volume. Both are responsible to guard the one is called the pulmonary trunk, that is guarded by the PSLV, and main aorta is guarded by the ASLV, aortic semilunar volume. One more point here, that is called the interesting fact is there. So far as the artery are concerned, auricles we say right auricle and left auricle. This is the right auricle, this is left auricle. Right auricle and left auricle, there are the entrance points. Means this is called the this inferior vena cava, and this is called the superior vena cava. This inferior vena cava collects the deoxygenated blood from upper parts of the body, that means above the diaphragm. This collects the deoxygenated blood from lower parts of the body, that means below from the diaphragm. This collection of the blood goes into the right auricle. That means they collect the blood from all parts of the body and then it drains into the right auricle. But these vena cava are not guarded by the valves. This is one point. Another point, on the other hand, this left auricle is actually the entrance point of the oxygenated blood which comes from the lungs in the form of pulmonary left pulmonary veins and right pulmonary veins. This right pulmonary vein actually goes backside of the heart and empties into the left auricle, this left auricle, and it empties into the left auricle as well. So these are also not guarded by the valves. There is a some sort of backflow of the blood here, but that is very feeble or very we can say minimum. That doesn't affect the flow of the blood which goes into the right auricle and left auricle. So we say, in other words, no valve found on the entrance point of the vena cava, here vena cava, and pulmonary veins, here pulmonary veins, because when there is the contraction of the ventricles takes place, when there is the contraction of the auricles takes place, a little bit of the blood do spot into the left pulmonary artery and right pulmonary artery. Likewise, this we can say the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, but that is very minimal, or we can say that is very feeble, and that is negligible, we say. So another point here, as far as the mechanism of action of the this blood flow through the heart is concerned, that means I had told you earlier in the lecture, when I started the lecture, that means these valves are responsible wholly and solely to prevent the backflow of the blood from ventricles into the respective arteria. How they work with each other? When when there is a mechanism of action, means when heart is totally in a relaxed condition, what happens? Both the auricles gets filled with the blood. When the auricles gets filled, filled with the blood goes from right and left auricle into the right and left ventricle respectively through the AV valves. Because the AV valves are like this, they are limply hang into the ventricles. Then what happens? The blood flows from auricles into the ventricles. When there is a ventricular contraction takes place, what happens? The flaps of the AV valves comes close with each other. When there is a rise in the pressure and there is an intraventricular pressure rises in the ventricles, the AV valves, that is the tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve, the flaps of the this tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve gets closed. What happens? The pressure rises. This pressure rises helps to or forces to open the PSLV and ASLV respectively. Once again I will tell you, when there is ventricular contraction, both sides, right ventricle and left ventricle, what happens? There is a closure of tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve, and there is an opening of PSLV and ASLV, that means pulmonary semilunar volume and aortic semilunar volume. When there is ventricular relaxation, when the ventricles gets relaxed, that means in a relaxed condition, what happens? There is a decrease in the pressure of the both the ventricles, but there is the rise of the pressure in the this main aorta and the pulmonary trunk. What happens? The blood rushes from pulmonary trunk and aorta wants to go back into the right ventricle and left ventricle. But what happens? When it rushes toward the ventricles, the semilunar volume in the form of PSLV and ASLV gets closed, because their cusps are filled with the blood. When their cusps are filled with the blood, they get closed, and it prevents the backflow of blood from pulmonary trunk and main aorta into the respective ventricles. I hope that you got the information so far as this what it called as a lecture is concerned. Here, as AV valves limply hang into the ventricles during ventricular flow of the blood, that I have mentioned earlier, that when there is a this relaxed condition of the ventricles, when they are relaxed, we can say the ventricles, what happens? The blood rushes from right auricle and left auricle into the respective ventricles. When there is a ventricular contraction takes place, the AV valves gets closed and there is an opening of PSLV and ASLV respectively. And when there is a ventricular relaxation takes place, PSLV and ASLV gets closed due to the lesser pressure in the ventricles and greater pressure in the main aorta and pulmonary trunk. I hope that you got the information. And there are two pathological conditions which are related to the what it called as the heart valves. That is called the incompetent valves. Sometimes the valves gets incompetent, so that there is a backflow of the blood. This backflow of the blood means the blood goes into the right and left auricle from the right and left ventricle respectively. So what happens? There is a backflow of blood, and that what it called is a there is the increase in the workload of the heart, and heart muscles gets weakened. Similarly, another pathological condition that's called the valvular stenosis, that's called the narrowing of the valves takes place due to this stiffening of the heart, or due to the deposition of the calcium salts, etc. What happens, there is a the increased workload on the heart. What happens, the heart muscles gets weakened. And these two problems can be prevented by the, or with the help of what is called as the replacement of the this AV valves by the artificial valves. But it is sad, or it is, we can say, the of the two AV valves, the left AV valve in the form of bicuspid valve or mitral valve gets mostly affected, and it can be replaced by the artificial valve. I hope that you have got the information regarding the this topic, as well as I have furnished the whole information as far as the heart valves are concerned. Please subscribe my channel and comment in the comment section, like my video, and share, most importantly share my videos to your friends, so that they can also get the information regarding the this upcoming videos, as well as on the videos which I have uploaded earlier on the YouTube. Thanks a lot.